Welcome to Fueling Your Legacy, hosted by Samuel Knickerbocker. Each week, we expose the faulty foundational mindsets of the past and rebuild a new, stronger foundation essential in creating your legacy. We've got a lot of work to do, so let's get started. Welcome back. It is Monday morning, the first Monday of December of 2018. Can you believe it? We are in the last month home stretch, and to really plan for our future, really plan for the next year, it starts today. We have to actually decide today that we're going to kill December and make sure we're maxing out December. That'll lead into just a phenomenal start at the beginning of the year, and then we keep up that energy and just crush 2019. And it is possible. Believe in yourself. Believe that it's possible. Today, I'm actually going to be talking about mindset, because I think mindset is one of the key separators between the world class and the people who get things done and the other people who just are procrastinators. In certain areas of my life, I live in both places. I'm not perfect. I don't expect that anyone listening to this is perfect, although there are people who have trained themselves to constantly be seeing the growth mindset side of things. So what is the difference between the two mindsets? Well, there's fixed mindsets, and a fixed mindset is basically saying that you're never going to get anywhere farther or get to anything more in life. You're not really going to be able to accomplish anything greater than what you are. You're a product of your past, and everything that you are is part of being your past. And that, although that is maybe, I wouldn't even say it's comforting. The reason people do it generally is because they don't want to take responsibility for their life. Now, if you are one who takes ultimate and 100% responsibility, then taking responsibility, you have to say, okay, well, what could I have done differently today? For example, it's a little bit icy out on the roads, and I didn't leave in time to get to work, so everybody was driving slow, which probably for good reason, because there was ice on the roads and they didn't want to get in an accident. Well, I get to work 10, 15 minutes later than I planned. And I was talking with a colleague, and he's like, well, glad you showed up. And I said, yeah, the roads were icy. And as soon as I said that, he said, well, you didn't plan for that? You didn't leave early enough to make sure that happened? I was like, no, I didn't, right? That was my bad. But the fact that the roads are icy, that's not the road's fault. It's not anybody else in my office's fault. It's my fault that I did not choose to bank a shift that morning and leave a little bit earlier, make sure I got things done so I could show up on time. And so that's the difference kind of between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. What is in your control versus what's outside of your control. And too many people in life, they want to just shell off as much responsibility to other places so that they don't have to be at fault in a lot of situations. But I would suggest and encourage you to start thinking from a growth mindset. So as a parent, as a mother, a father, a brother, sister, son, daughter, how in your personal life can you live more in a growth mindset? What things could you do to think, okay, I can affect this situation? I'll share another experience from this morning. We woke my son up and we're feeding him breakfast. Now my son, I love him to death, but he has a habit of hitting my wife when he wants another bite of food. And so we're trying to break this habit, and I could choose to say, well, that's just how he's going to do it, so I'm going to feed him. Or I can start parenting, and from a growth mindset, believe that he can change. He's not locked into this. This isn't the only way he's going to ask for food. He can learn how to ask for food a different way. And so I can do that through a lot of gentle reminders and make sure that I'm protecting my wife and that she's not going to get a little tap from my son when he's hungry. He's fully capable of speaking and asking for it politely. And so believing that that's possible. Another experience with my son. It's really easy to think, man, we get in the habit of just staying home in the evenings after about 7:30 when he can sleep in our own bed. And with that, I tend to believe, you know what, my son can learn a lot of different things, and I want to go live my life. I don't want my life dictated by my son's need to sleep or anything, mostly because I don't think that he needs to sleep in his own bed. I think he can fall asleep anywhere. But there's some other people who would tend to say that, no, kids need to be in their own bed, so keep their routine, keep their schedule. And while I generally agree with that, I think the one-off chance of you not keeping in a schedule, I don't think that's going to ruin a child. And so we decided, we're just going to chance it. We had faith that he was going to fall asleep at my brother's house. And we did. We went out, we played games. We didn't leave their house till about 11:30, and he went down super easy and fell asleep, and it was just perfect. So we can live in fear that things might not happen, or that things are going to have to remain the same in a fixed state, or we can just choose to live from a growth mindset and decide, hey, look, change is possible. The people around us are possible of change. We're possible of change. And because of that, let's go try new things. Let's go experience life on a level that we haven't really ever experienced, because there's a chance that if we do, then we're actually going to learn something, that we're actually going to have more fun or accomplish more things by actually experiencing some new things. So those are some ideas in parenting. Obviously, you can apply it anywhere, but it's really important to realize that your kids, they are in the most hyper growth stage of life. They've got to learn how to walk, talk, dress themselves, go to the bathroom. They're learning so much in that first 8 years of their life. If you can properly program them to always be thinking in a growth mindset. So when somebody says, I can't, say, okay, you can say that, or you can say, how can I do this? How can I accomplish that? The word how is so valuable. And as you start teaching your children that, you're actually going to end up reprogramming your own mind, because we all grew up, or a lot of us grew up without having that programmed in our minds, that we are infinite, we have infinite potential, and we can accomplish anything we like. Most of us grew up with the people around us holding us down and saying, look, you need to be like me. And so we're taking these social cues from everybody, and it's like the fleas in a jar, right? To talk about this analogy, the fleas in a jar, they put fleas in a jar and then put a lid on it, and they were jumping, right? But they kept jumping and hitting the lid. And so eventually that was as high as they were jumping. Then you could take that lid off, but because they'd programmed themselves to only jump that high because they didn't like hitting their heads on the ceiling, then they have this invisible ceiling on the jar, and they'll just stay in there until they die because they don't think that they can get out anymore. And unfortunately, that's happened a lot in our culture with a lot of people, where we've been trained to just not jump too high, not to go for our dreams, not to go for the gold, not to break the glass ceiling, right? Not to do that, and just to stay average with everybody else. And I'm a firm believer that if we can adopt a growth mindset, if we can change our whole way of looking at things, from growth, gratitude, love, abundance, and really transform what we're thinking into something better, then that's going to be a huge, huge benefit. Here's an example from business, right? So maybe you're running an online business, or a sewing business, or a restaurant, or whatever it is. We all have these targets, all these things. We want to take a business and grow it. And that growing phase, it means we actually have to grow as individuals. It can't just be somebody else growing. We actually, as individuals, have to grow for our income and our goals and our ability to serve those around us to grow. And too often we just focus on the growth of our company, and we don't focus on our internal growth, because we don't want to change, really. We think that change is bad. We want to keep something consistent. When we find something that works, we just stick with that thing that works, which to a degree, we need to stick with what works, but we also need to be always refining that thing that works to make it even better. Take the next best thing. So a somewhat example of this is the companies that do this are technological companies. They'll take the same product, and rather than drastically changing the iPhone, rather than drastically changing the idea of a computer, they just add more features. They add more value to that object. And so if you're looking at your business, whatever that business is, what's the core thing that you're doing? And then every day with a growth mindset, how can I add more and more and more value to that object or that service or whatever it is? How can I keep adding value? And that's the growth mindset, because as you keep adding value, that's when greater amounts of income are going to come in, which will ultimately give you the lifestyle you want to go and serve and bless the lives of others, and thus creating your legacy. So I believe that one of the key components to fueling your legacy, and we're going to talk about a lot of different things on this show, but one of the main things is going to be getting your mindset right, that you actually can change and that it's worth changing, that there's something better to change. That applies to faith. That applies to hope, all of those things, a business plan. You have to perceive and desire what you want in the future, and then go at it and work towards it. And so you're not going to do that unless you change your mind and believe that growth is possible. And so this is one of the key elements, maybe the ignition to fueling your legacy, and making sure that that fuel is actually getting ignited and has some power behind it. And so with that, I'm going to sign off here. But if you do like what you're hearing, please share, comment. If you completely disagree, also share and comment. I just want to know what your thoughts are and how this is helping you and how this is going to shift your mindset and how you're going to apply it in your life. You can also rank and review the podcast, Fueling Your Legacy. You can find that link in my bio. So thanks a bunch. Thanks for joining us today. If what you heard resonated with you, please like, comment, and share on social media. Tag me so I can give you a shout out on the next episode. And thanks to all those who have left a review. It helps spread the message of what it really takes to build a legacy that lasts. Catch you next time on Fueling Your Legacy.